Founded in 1999 by Jason Burks, Retrospec Films is Oklahoma's largest turnkey production company of its kind. With over 2 decades of experience, a full-time team of over 20 talented individuals, a 12,000 square foot studio to create in, and thousands of successfully completed projects in both entertainment and advertising. You're in the right place if you like hearing some good old filmmaking stories. On this podcast, we will discuss the pursuit of creating things and the problems we solve by digging up projects from across the last 20 years and giving you a glimpse behind the scenes where the magic happens. You're listening to Retrospec Films from the Archives.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us on Retrospec from the Archives, where we pull up projects from the past, dig through them, talk about the problems we solved, the things that we created, all the creativity and teamwork that goes in them. Today I am joined by my wife, Tayler Burks, and by Adam here.
Hello.
From our post-production and production team. And today we are excited. We're going to talk a little bit about a really unique project that's about, I think 2 years ago, or was it 3 years ago?
No, I think it was about 2.
2 years ago.
Almost.
And we're in 2023. I think it was 2021.
Yes.
Summer of 2021. So this project is unique because I think that it really, it kind of proves the value of a team, and it brings a unique obstacle to the table that is not common for us. And so talking through the way we executed it is actually really fun. It's so different than many other projects. So what we're talking about is a project that we did for Tulsa Tech. So let's just go back to the summer of 2021, and probably more or less the spring of 2021. You know, keep in mind, this is the year after the pandemic, but really still in the pandemic. Lots of people still working remote. Lots of people still not traveling quite a whole lot, and lots of facilities not giving tours. And so Tulsa Tech sat back and said, we need to be able to showcase all of the classes that we have online so that people can understand what classes they might want to sign up for. Well, that's a really big endeavor, considering that they have, 50, 60, 70, 100 different programs that they offer. So what they had concluded is we need to make videos of each of these, little tiny snippet videos. And, these may be anywhere from 60 seconds to 3 minutes long. But when you watch these videos, they're going to tell you what that program is about. So they put an RFP out there and said, who can we partner along with to create 50 plus videos? And we have to have it done in 2 months, I think was the objective. Is that right? 3 months?
I can't remember. Maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
It was something crazy.
like that.
It was really quick for the quantity of deliverables.
Yeah, it would have been the highest amount of content that we'd produce in the shortest amount of time.
Sound engineering, the technical discipline of recording, producing, and controlling sound. A vibration through time and space.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Headed to the studio?
Always. I'm working on this new song. Almost done. It just needs something. I can't put my finger on it yet, but...
You'll figure it out.
Thanks.
You always do.
Catch you later.
My entire life I've wanted to produce music. My dad was a producer. He was my hero. He taught me that producing is an art form. It's the process of combining the practical and the creative to produce something magical, something inspirational. That's what led me to Tulsa Tech.
What's up, Chris? Hey. What you got, man? I know we've been working hard on this song, so...
At Tulsa Tech, we are taught how to train our ears to understand acoustics, how the beat of a drum perfectly complements the strum of a guitar, how to read the knobs on a mixing board, control the levels of a microphone so audiences can experience music the way it's meant to be experienced. We learn what Pro Tools is and how to perfectly formulate voices and beats and instruments to make a person feel something deeper. But I'm not quite there yet.
Okay, if you ever get stuck on a mix, what you might want to try is some saturation. It'll add a little bit more body, plus it can glue your mix together.
That's it. So what's sound engineering like at Tulsa Tech? Come find out.
the smell of diesel. You shouldn't take too much of it in, but you know when it's there, right? Do you ever think about how many aspects of our daily lives involve diesel trucks? Think about it. Buses taking our kids to and from school, semi-trucks transporting everything from cedar logs to potato chips across the entire country, construction vehicles digging out dirt to make room for every building ever. Yeah. Diesel fuel vehicles are kind of a big deal, which is why when they break and need repair, we need people who know what they're doing to step in and do something. That's why we're here at Tulsa Tech.
That's right.
Tulsa Tech's light diesel program, medium and heavy diesel program, both provide amazing opportunities for us as students. They help build us up and prepare us for our careers. We learn to be observant and quickly diagnose the problems. And we begin to understand the systems on the vehicles, and we're taught to troubleshoot various components, all while using industry standard equipment. Like this one. We get to work with master technicians, and in this shop, plus a few others, we learn to maintain vehicle systems to ensure optimum performance. Now, of course, this is only the surface of what these programs offer. But if you're like me and you don't mind getting dirty to get the job done, then come make your own path here at Tulsa Tech.
So I'm going to take us through it a little bit. It started, so, we put together an RFP, or we put together our proposal, threw it back at them. They said, you guys got it. We were all super excited. We had done a spec piece, which was really fun, to feel good about it. We found out we got it, which was awesome. But then it was like, oh my gosh, like, what did we just sign up for? How are we going to create like 50 videos in 30, 40 days? So before I talk about logistics of pre-pro and producing and all that jazz, Tayler, talk a little bit about creative, because these concepts, this was not just like junky little throw together videos. Like it was like concepts that had to be written custom 50 times. Talk about that.
So we had 3 different methods of telling the story of the different programs. One of them was narrative, which was more of a poetic approach. So, it was a voiceover. We showed a lot of really beautiful cinematic B-roll. The second approach was direct to camera. So we wrote a script where a person was delivering the whatever messaging it was to camera, and then an interview where we chose, I believe, either a teacher or a former student or a current student to tell their story and why they chose the program that they're in and what they're learning. And so it was very interesting. It was very intimidating, but luckily I had Cassidy, Branch, and Devin Oliver with me. And I think the first step was really sitting down and looking at all the programs that they wanted to do and dissecting what would be the best approach for each program. And some of that was like, okay, well, what do we think the target audience is? What do we feel like would speak to them? Would it be more narrative? Are they more direct to camera people? Do they want to hear someone's testimony? And I mean, that was kind of just what teaming up with Tulsa Tech to kind of figure out what they thought would be the best approach for each program. And then Cassidy, Devin, and I went to Gathering Place, and we sat down and we had a writing day where we created kind of loose formats for every single one of them. Like, okay, it's going to always open with this, and then we're going to tell 3 facts, and then we're going to do this for direct to camera. It's going to always open with this. We're going to have 2 interactions of dialogue and show off this for narrative. And then obviously documentary style is pretty typical of videos that we've done in the past, but just like really kind of coming up with unique angles of stories that we could potentially find from students that would help really captivate the audience. So it was a lot of planning and then just like executing, and it was fun. It became a little bit like, oh my gosh, is this good? Like, is this gonna look good when it actually gets to production? And a little repetitive, but at the end of the day, like looking at the videos now, like I'm really proud of the work that my team accomplished. It was a huge undertaking, but I think that we killed it, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, I mean, I think very few people, I like to, I kind of approach everything as though anything can be done. Like, if it can be done, we can do it. And usually that's always true, but I think this was a case where I actually was barely involved in these. I did a couple of the first ones, but I was working on other projects. And my first approach was like, it'll be fine. But then there was some moments in there I was like, wait a second, like this is like something we've never done before. Like we've never had 2, 3, 4 different directors shooting. Like it was like, how many can you do in a day? Well, maybe 3, maybe 4, but there's 50. So that's like 12, 13 days, you know, and we just didn't have the time. So we had to divide and conquer and then.
And really think about the skills of the directors because they all had different tones. Like the narrative was more poetic. The direct to camera, we tried to add a little bit of comedy to it. And then obviously documentary is being really good at talking to people and getting stuff pulled out of them. So.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, it was kind of unique because I doubt many other companies or creatives would say, let's do 3 approaches. But I love that we did that because anybody that's going to watch 48 videos is going to get bored with the format, you know? So I really liked that because even for ourselves, it was like, we think these are interesting. You only have to watch a certain format like 12 to 15 times, and then it's going to change a little bit.
Yeah.
So Adam, why don't you talk just a little bit about, you know, you were on set with these, not all of them, just the portion that you had a part of. Talk a little bit about, you know, maybe first your knowledge of the task and how that seems like a great idea or terrifying, and what some of the shooting of these was like for you.
Well, yeah, it was a great idea and also terrifying. But I think it was, like you said, switching up the formats or having 3 different ones is also great to tell the story of each of them, because some might not work as well in a narrative format. It may not really explain what the program's about. And then sometimes a sit-down interview won't really capture what the program is either. So it was also a matter of like finding the right format for the right program. And then also aligning that with the right director, the right cameraman, and then even the right editor too. So it's all this combination of like moving all of our team members around like chess pieces to make sure this one works out, this one works out. So from like a pre-pro to a post-production perspective, this was just a huge challenge with like moving parts, and I think we nailed it. But on set, like you said, we can maybe only shoot like 2 or 3 a day, and that's really moving fast. So that means coordinating all of these actors too that are like the lead in this one, but then later on in the day, they're just going to be extras. And like the extras in this one, this person's going to be a lead in the next one. And then you're kind of moving with all of these. You have like maybe 1 or 2 main actors and then 5 or 6 extras that are going with you around each of these spots on campus, multiple different campuses, multiple different days. So it's a lot of logistics and a lot of stuff on set to be split sometimes among, like you said, 3 different directors simultaneously shooting all at once. And so the challenge there is there's a lot that can go wrong. There's a lot of coordination that could go wrong that could lead to just slowdowns on set. And if you get slowed down at all, then that doesn't just delay what you're shooting then, but what you're shooting later on in the day. Because actors have to change, do all these different things. And so there's a lot of variables that you kind of look at and you kind of think that they're maybe not on the creative side or the filmmaking side, but they really are. And so you have to kind of have like 2 brains, like the logistic coordinated brain, but then the creative, like, okay, I have all these pieces, like, what am I going to do with them now?
Yeah.
And so I think overall, I mostly focused on the direct-to-camera pieces, or like the documentary, I think we called it, which is like the sit-down interview ones. And so I think those were the most fun that I thought was the direct-to-camera, because you're always kind of each shot orchestrating some kind of scenario where the main character is talking and walking to camera, but then you're also thinking, I want to create something cool in the background that the audience might not be paying attention to, but really illustrates what the class is like, or what the course, or the just whatever the activity that they're doing is. And so working with the team at Tulsa Tech to really understand each course too was important, because I don't want to illustrate something that's like, oh, we don't actually do that in this program. That's just like something you made up. So figuring out, what diesel instructors and plane engineers and stuff have to do, and what their process of training is. I feel like each of us got like a mini education in all these obscure fields just to pull this project off, but it turned out really good.
Yeah.
I'm curious, something, Taylor, that's becoming more common with your role is not just the conception of an idea, but then being there when the idea is being worked through. And sometimes it's like fluid.
Yeah.
You're like, great, everything I wrote is being translated and it's rocking. But then sometimes it's not. Like sometimes either the director can struggle or the editor can struggle. Probably more commonly the editor struggles and they're trying to grasp it.
Yeah.
Talk to me on this project. I don't know if you felt like you had to audible occasionally or change things or add to things, but it could be a specific video or just kind of your broad thoughts, but talk a little bit about that process of, here was the idea. They already shot it. Now I'm trying to help massage it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like fortunately the people who were directing were also kind of editing as well. Like Josh Franks was one of the directors and he also was probably the main editor on most of them. And so I think that really helped. They did pull audibles on set just based off of the space. I mean, we tried our best in the creative development process to go to the spaces, understand them, because that was the other thing that Tulsa Tech really wanted was to show off the spaces in which the programs took place. So like the direct to camera was really fun because it was kind of like a mini tour as they're talking to camera. You got to see the spaces that you would be in if you went through that program. But I feel like the directors did a really good job at staying pretty close to the script, which I think that when you're doing 52 videos, it's a little harder to, I think they still had a lot of really beautiful creativity on set, but like you're just kind of not pumping through them. You're thinking through things, but also like I think we had to be so dialed in the beginning stages of that so that when the directors got to set, like the script had already been thought through by both the directors and me, and then also whoever was editing it to really make sure we were capturing exactly what needed to be captured so that it was as close to the script as possible. And I don't remember there being very many huge changes on scripting when it came to the directing or the editing process. I feel like we tried to get it to a place where it was like really simple for that process. And I know like there were different lines that were thrown, like especially in the direct to camera, like if something was more comical, then like that was a little bit of an audible, but yeah.
I'm curious, even though it may not have happened a whole lot in this one, but tell me a little bit about the significance of being able to adjust afterwards, because I know that happens, right? A lot of people don't do it. Like a lot of times you'll see videos and you'll hear people be like, yeah, it just didn't turn out as good as we thought. But like for Retrospec, I just don't feel like that's an option. Like we don't do that. Like we don't shoot stuff, it turns out poorly, and then we're just like, sorry, it was a bad script. Like at that point you sit down and think and adjust. Talk about that, because I know that's common, or not real common, because you do a great job with the initial creative, but still there's projects sometimes where it's like, this thing needs a little help.
And again, I wasn't as involved with the post-production process on this one, but that is like a huge thing. Like sometimes you get a script onto set and it just doesn't work the way that the writer had envisioned it in their mind because the space is different or the actors aren't getting it, or maybe it's just not like what needs to be said in that moment. So being flexible in this line of work, and that's why I always say like it's so awesome that we have an in-house team of people who get to work together every single day, because we all trust each other's creativity. And like, I feel like we're getting to a place maybe where I can like look at a project and be like, oh, this is like going to be really good for Adam to direct, because I think we like see things similarly in this way. And like, we work together really well creatively and we can be flexible. Like, I think and same with you. Like, I think that there's projects that you just kind of learn like who the director and the editor, what director and editor is going to be best for it, because then you trust that they understand like the overall message or vision of the piece. And if they have to pull audibles or things have to be flexible, like they're going to capture things that are going to help the story in the long run, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's good. I'm curious, Adam, did you happen to have a favorite one?
Oh man. There was a lot of them. I think the one we did, I think it was, I'll have to remember the specific name, but it was Diesel Mechanic.
That was a good one.
And it was, we just had this really awesome, the room that they all work in is really cool. And there's just big semi-truck engines all over the place, and we can have extras walking in and out of school buses and into the engines because they're so big. And so, pushing all these carts and stuff, there was just a lot to work with there. And I think visually, when you have a lot of options, you can get really creative. And so that's one I always remember.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites. Cheaply, my favorite was probably the only one that I created, but that's probably why I liked it. I did the spec piece for, what was it, acoustic sound engineering.
That one was great.
And yeah, and honestly, when we created that one, it was literally just trying to figure out like what we were doing, but I still thought it was really good. But
I think so too. I mean,
whatever.
That's the piece that inspired all of the rest of it. So
yeah, that's awesome.
The job, so that's cool.
Well, in summary, what a crazy project, very unique project.
Yes.
I think we did 52, 53, 54 different videos that were 1 to 3 minutes long, that were all good, that were all cared for, that were written, that were custom, that were shot, that were casted, and the whole thing happened in like less than 3 months. So a miraculous undertaking. I really think only Retrospec could do it, but I'm a little biased, whatever. So appreciate you guys joining us. And also just another thank you to everyone on the Retrospec team. Anyone's name that I didn't mention that worked on this. This was a massive team effort. I think over half the people that work here worked on this project at some point in time, put their heart and soul into it, and something that we can all always be proud of, because very few people would attempt to do that. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you want to watch more episodes, you can find them on our website, retrospecfilms.com. We're also on, I think, Spotify, Apple Podcast.
Anywhere you get podcasts.
Anywhere.
All the podcast
anywhere and
places.
everywhere.
Just Google Retrospec Podcast. You'll find us. But we've got new episodes coming out in the future. We hope you join us and hope you enjoyed today. We appreciate you taking the time, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Nice.